Let's take the engine out of a classic 350 Reborn. Hello and welcome. Yes, let's get to this again. Looks nice and tidy down here, doesn't it? Still a mess everywhere else, but enough room to work in. Now, so I know I want to paint the engine, and I think it's going to be gloss black. Not the engine covers though, I want to keep them shiny. So they're going to need a good polish, probably a bit of rectification work as well, because they've been a bit scratched from when it had an accident or whatever happened to it. So either way, out it's coming, and then we can have a good clean of the bike under here, because I haven't even cleaned the bike really. But I'll put some plastic on the floor and we can clean that. But the engine out now. Shall I have a look at the manual, or shall I just wade into it? You probably know what's going to happen there. But I got some ideas. I'll show you now. Here's the general arrangement of the frame and the engine. As you can see, the frame isn't a cradle frame. It doesn't go around the engine. Just as the original Bullet never did either. Because they effectively use the engine as part of the frame. So the down tube stops there. Any stresses are passed through the engine to where it's located at the rear spine. And it all forms a complete unit. So the engine is very strongly mounted. It's quite a chunk, this engine. It's not going to be light. So what am I thinking? Well, the first thing that's kind of obvious is the engine is actually fitted up inside this rear spine. And it goes back some way, about 2 centimetres, nearly an inch. The engine is up inside this, so either way, the engine has to come forward to get out of here before it can go upwards. Or possibly you could say it could go downwards. Maybe. Maybe straight downwards. But obviously we've got steelwork here and the rear of the clutch housing here. So that's not going to drop vertically out in any case. So like many things, I think it's going to be a combination of different directions and movements. What I think is most likely, is if once the 3 mounting bolts are removed, if the frame, if you think about the engine staying still for now, because that's probably the way I'm going to do it, the frame going backwards, so this part will move up here where it's free to move. And that means the back will go backwards past the engine, and then the whole frame assembly should go up and out. And obviously I'm not too worried about wrestling with it now because I'm going to paint it. But I want to know how to do it well. Because when the engine goes back in with its nice paint job, I don't want it all scratched and damaged. So I can gain an inch there by dropping those studs out. So the back of the head, the front of the head rather, is there instead of this end here. So we'll take, this will be coming off. A little bit in there. The wiring needs disconnecting. It's even possible this could work like a hinge. So if you take the rear bolts out and loosen the front one, whole frame might roll forward on this bolt until the rear spine is clear of the engine, and then the frame can come up and off. That is possible. Right, so I'll take it around the other side because there are a few bits of wiring and whatnot to disconnect. Perhaps we'll drop the throttle body out, save damaging it. There's a starter motor connection there. Should we take out the whole starter motor? Make it a bit lighter. I have a feeling every bit is going to help. I think the engine is heavy. The frame will be heavy, but I think the frame is lighter than the engine. Because this is quite a chunk. Yes, let's undo bits. See what gets smaller. Might open the manual for a look. Right. Clutch cable's got to come off. Don't want that hanging on. I'm trying to get it out. Right, sometimes these are hooked and you can get that out, but this is solid all the way around. So the clutch end for sure has to come out. Right, that is hooked in the end there. So I back that adjuster off, shove that in, that should pop out. So this is slightly amusing now because obviously that nut's not going to go through there. So does this little gaiter have to come off? And the nut? And the cable? Yes. Let's pop those back on there. Bitterly cold in the workshop today. I think it's 0 degrees centigrade, obviously. Clutch done. I'm going to try and take my coat off anyway. But I want to try and do it before my fingers get too cold. Okay, I did take the battery out, didn't I? Yes, a long time ago. Right, starter motor. I'm going to take this off. Well, I've got to disconnect this connection anyway. It's on wheels, I forgot that. Right, we've got 2 Allen drives there. Let's have a look. See if I can do them by hand. If it's like a car one, it won't be restrained at the other end. Not that tight. Looks like it's moving anyway. Well, we've got an earth strap under there as well. I remember that from the Meteor. Right. Will the starter motor give itself up? Okay, so weirdly, unlike a car one, it hasn't got a Bendix on the end. It's just literally a splined high power motor, which means the clever stuff must be going on in there. See if we can look up inside the engine. There you go, that starter obviously engages on that gear. I'll have a proper look when we get it out. I can feel then with my finger that it rotates freely backwards, but in forward direction it's trying to push the engine round. So obviously there's some sort of clutch or idler system going on in there for the starting. I'm just going to turn this round because it's easier to work on with the light on your side. This is my special bodge trolley. Done there. Right. Let's have a look. Okay, left hand side. We've got cable coming out of here, which is going to be the generator connection. I know I'd said that was the generator in a previous video, but absolutely that's wrong. It's that one there. So I can tell it's got 3 wires because it's a 3-phase generator. We'll have a look at that. And I recognise the connector from the Meteor, to be honest. It's this red one up here for the generator. Now this doesn't have the gear position indicator like a Meteor, but that doesn't mean there isn't a wire for it. So we'll have to be careful of that. And also, it looks like the stand switch wire is running up with it as well. Right, this little metal plate's got to come off. Since I turned everything round, nothing's in the right place now. So it looks like the only purpose of this clip is to hold the cable in place. I haven't done any cleaning here, so it was quite a clean bike really, or under oiled. There we go. Cable clip, just pop that down there. So the generator wire. Yeah, we have got a gear position indicator by the looks of it. Although I'm assuming that for a moment, so don't believe me on anything. Or at the very least, it will be the neutral indicator. So we've got that wire. That wire. Right, so I'll have to be careful now because effectively that wire is joined to the engine. But also because it's loomed together, it's joined to the side stand switch. Right, so one way or another something's got to give. Either we take off the side stand switch and that's going to come with the engine, or we detach the generator cable from the engine now. Might do that actually. This goes up inside here. No, I think we'll go with that plan. Right, disconnect the generator. Which is a bit fiddly. So that red piece has to come up, and then effectively the generator should disconnect. There we are. And then this one should be up inside there. So many bits coming off. Yeah, there we go. Right, 3 lovely colour-coded connections. Even I can't get that wrong. Tease out of there. Where's that going to be? Yes. Actually, thinking now, if I clip this cable tie, I should be able to disconnect the side stand cable from the engine loom. Yes. There we go. So, another cable tie. Right, generator. That'll be the generator, 3-phase generator, and that will be the trigger wire for the so the ECU knows where the crank is, crank position, so it knows when to do the spark. Neutral indicator and side stand switch. Got another cable tie down here. Let's get rid of this. There we go. Pop that over the back. Right, now what else is holding this engine in apart from the bolts? Bolt, bolt. Shine my light in here. Alright, there's a breather pipe which is just connected to this pipe which goes onto the airbox. Either way, that's not a problem at the moment. Is that a wire? Oh, that's a wire from the regulator rectifier. Okay, we're pretty much clear. I'm going to take the throttle body off though, because it's expensive, fragile, and in the way. Let's do that. Cool. Here's the throttle body. So when you turn the throttle, that opens the butterfly, and the ECU, the throttle position sensor, is mounted directly to the back. So that will then know, and that'll do all the processing for how much fuel the fuel injector will need to supply. It's a lovely little system, because usually on many other bikes the ECU would be far away. But you've got the ECU is right here, almost as if it was a carburettor. The whole thing is all in one assembly, all nice and close together. So what have we got? That's the fuel tank connection. There's the fuel tank to fuel injector connection. We talked about that one before. That's when the fuel tank has one button. No, the fuel tank has two buttons. But the injector is one button. No, I'm talking nonsense. No, squeeze both. I don't know why I thought it was only one-sided. Never mind. Now this has got a whole lot of wires connected to the top. But you might do that afterwards. Now it's got a little small pipe. That's the connection to the evaporative canister. So when your fuel fumes from your tank go to a canister, and then when you run the bike, it sucks the fuel out and burns them. So you don't get that horrible garagey smell in your garage. That's probably a sort of Euro 5 thing as well. Yeah, comes off easy. I'm not going to try and pull that now. I think I'm going to drop that body off. So looks like we've got a couple of Allen bolts that hold the throttle body to the bike. A bit like a carburetor, really. If it works, don't change. There we go. Obviously the throttle cable's still attached, but I'm not worried about that for a sec. Oh, there's a lot of wires going to that. Oh, yeah, it's moving now. There we go. There it is. So push that tab down, pull it off. It's a lot of connections. So that's all the data from the bike. What gear it's in, what the temperature is, what the exhaust sensor's saying, how fast the bike's going, whether it's got fuel, when to make the spark, everything really. All the decisions about how your bike's running are being made in there, in a little computer. And that's where it gives and receives all its instructions. There you go, there's the throttle butterfly. And that shaft will continue inside there, so the computer can read how much throttle you're asking for, because that will determine how much fuel to inject as well, obviously. Right, let's undo that. Can I do it without undoing the bolts? Might be able to. There we go. So all I did then was turn it to full throttle, but held it manually. And that gave me enough room to clip the throttle cable on. So there we go. But then I've got to loosen these anyway. Do. 12mm. this one is hooked, but it's not going to come off. It's not going to come off unless I get this rubber off. Or that nut. There we go. That can't come off anyway, look. Although I'll pop that back on there. Just in case. There's a lovely little throttle body. Brum brum. Right, I've got the fuel injector under here, which is just one electrical connection, but I'm thinking about dropping the top off it just to save catching it on anything. But I think I'd be alright actually, because things are going upwards, not if I break that off, you know exactly that I should have done that. Gotcha. There it is. Fuel injector pulse. It's got this sensor on the front of the engine. It's not springing to mind what that is. I don't know if it's oil pressure or an emission sensor. Alright, this stud, the far side, is came out with the engine, which usually you wouldn't want, but I do want, because it's going to make the engine shorter. So what we do, but I want this stud out because it's going to make the engine just a little bit shorter. So I need a pair of lock nuts. I'll be back. I've got 2 lock nuts. We can pull that stud out. There we go. It's made a lot more room at the front there now. Oh, spark plug. Undo that. Righty ho. I think we're ready. Everything I can see has been disconnected. Just the main 3 bolts. But obviously this is where we need a bit of a plan. Because because the engine is heavy, obviously, and the bike is held up. But the engine, via this axle stand, is also holding the bike up. You could lay the whole thing on its side and kind of wriggle it out. It's a very legitimate way to do it. Might do that, could do that. Because obviously you're just sort of, if you do it on some carpet or some rubber, you're just kind of sliding the things apart. But well, let's try an interesting way. We're going to need some hooks and some straps and a ladder. First though, I want to loosen these engine bolts whilst everything is nice and strong. $14. Is it 17 the other side? Yes. Pretty tight. bottom one, going to need a spanner because it's buried in here. But the other side is pretty free, so. Right, my plan is, I put a couple of hooks up in the ceiling into a beam, and put straps around the front and the back. And the bottom of the engine is quite flat, so we're going to lift this up. I'm going to lift this down. So the engine is sat on this platform. So the engine has got its own weight. And we'll steady it with a block of wood if it feels it needs it. And then we'll put the straps on and we'll try and gently lift this frame up off this motor. So now. So, safety ratchet strap off. Anything bad happening? No. Now, how heavy is this bike? I mean, it's going to be heavy, but not terribly so, I don't think. Okay, yeah, it's heavy. Oh, that engine's nice and loose, look. Oh yeah, awesome. Yeah, we're going to be all right. So basically, I just want to lift it up and drop it onto the engine. But I need something to kick this stand away with. I suppose I could just do that myself. There we go. Nothing trapped? Nope. Excellent. Really good. Funny enough, the centre stand's kind of sitting on the floor. Not that that matters. So if this works on the way up, we'll put some carpet on the top of this to make sure we don't scratch the bike. Scratch the engine rather, the lovely fresh painted engine. There we go. Let's get some straps. Ratchet straps aren't the ideal tool for this, but they are quite handy because they're fabric and they won't scratch anything. So, and we're not in a rush. Right, I'm not going to tension that one. But I am at the front, just to hold the front up. If you haven't got any ratchet straps, you just got to get some. They're just the most useful thing. Right, I know you're looking at me like I've got a plan. And I do have a plan. Right, my plan right now is drop those engine bolts out and see what happens. So bottom one, it's got a washer. Oh, that cable's stopping it coming out, look. Am I going to have to take the centre stand off? No, I think we're just going to be okay. Bottom engine mount. One. Right, top. Nut washer. I don't know if this engine's going to drop down. It's likely, although it's not under stress. Not much, anyway. Unless that's sitting on the centre stand. Yes, it was. Now I know that wood's moved, I know it, so don't worry. I've got it in mind. Two. Bit of corrosion on those. But they came out easy enough. Right. Let me tighten this a bit more. Right, that front engine mount. Where's the tools? Wonder what's going to happen. I think I'm going to need help to lift that back on. Although, who knows? Come on, nut. Gotcha. Right, front bolt. Although we did say we weren't going to move that, but I am just going to check it does move. Yeah. Right. So, if I lift this, will that come up and off the engine? Yes. So I can still see, obviously, the engine is still going up past here. Need that front bolt out. Ew. Yuck. Washer both sides on that one. No washer this side though. A quick check that there's nothing else connected. What's that? There's a little Allen bolt sticking out. I'll have to be wary of that. Nice. So we're moving backwards. Because it's a trolley, the trolley wants to move as well. And the engine is nearly clear. Just got to watch out for that breather pipe. Some tension on this one. There we go, nearly there. Now which way shall I go? Let's go this way. we go. Sorted. He's out. The ceiling's not bending. There we go. One J series engine out of its frame. What do you think of that? There we go. That wasn't too bad. It was a bit heavy to lift off the stand. I might get help to put it back on. But all in all, that was a pretty controlled way to get it back on, to get the engine out. I think I do it in reverse. I'd probably use some bits of carpet. Maybe I got loads of carpet for obvious reasons. I could cut a cover to cover all the paintwork until it's all settled in. But it came out of the frame quite nicely. And obviously now it's up to height. I should measure how high this is, shouldn't I? Then I can just, yes, measure front and back how high this is hanging. And then on the way in, we can do that. We can maneuver it in. Which way did it go? That was it. In fact, the side stand sticks out this side, so it's got to come in from the right-hand side. Remember that. Yeah, so on the way in. Is that there? Let's rehearse that now. So, engine. It's the fastest this has gone in a while. Yeah, so basically it's just going to slide in sideways. Some protection here so this metal doesn't scratch the casing. Don't trap the airbox hose. And then lower it down. Brilliant, we've got a plan. Okay, what's next then? Well, these covers, they need rectification just because they're a bit corroded. Only got a couple of scratches. But to make life easier, instead of working sideways, I'm going to take these covers off and the head, take them all off, screw them down to a bit of wood so they're flat in front of me rather than working at weird angles. So that's coming off. That'll be interesting. You can see inside the engine a bit. And then whether I mask it up before or after, we're going to paint this engine gloss black. I'm fairly certain. Very certain, yes. Including this sort of a head part here, cylinder head. Not the top, polish that. And the frame, is anything damaged left here now? I was going to inspect the head bearings and measure these handlebars, choose some handlebars, because I think I want to go slightly lower, slightly wider, and these are bent anyway. Yeah, I want to experiment slightly lower. Can't go too low, because it'll hit the tank. And they need to be quite narrow here, so that the choice is limited anyway, because they have a very narrow width at before they upsweep. But otherwise, maybe a tiny bit of scratch rectification at the back end near the pillion hangers. But otherwise, I think I can just put some plastic down. I could carry the whole thing outside, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, how heavy can it be? Yeah, I can carry that. We'll take this outside and a good degreasing and cleaning. But otherwise, this bit is kind of okay. Brakes need servicing. Good clean, brake service. Check out the headstock and handlebars and the bent levers, of course. But otherwise, that bit, we found a bit that's fine. So good clean of this, disassembly and painting of this. Brilliant. I hope that was interesting. Thanks very much for joining me again next week. Thanks for all your lovely comments on the last couple of videos as well from New Year. That's always appreciated. Brilliant to hear from you. So I hope you enjoyed that. And see you again next time. And we'll do some more crazy stuff with Royal Enfields. See ya.